There are many contributing factors that make up the Assassin fantasy. Tools, parkour, social stealth, weaponry, even something as simple as a hood. These all contribute to capturing what it means to be an assassin. And a very important part of that is the crowds of NPCs. The NPCs are what makes social stealth possible, and hiding in plain sight is one of the core tenets of the creed. Blending in and being a blade in the crowd is such an important element to being an assassin, and yet it's something that can be easily overlooked sometimes. But the volume and density of NPC crowds, in my opinion anyway, is a major contributing factor to the assassin fantasy. Not only that, but it's a huge part of the immersion of a game world. Sure, you could have an incredibly well-designed city, good parkour pathing, beautiful graphics, but if it's not flush with civilians and NPCs, it's hollow. There's no life. Crowds are essential to these games, and the ones that take advantage of this often create a better social stealth experience for the player. From the very first Assassin's Creed game, crowds had been a pillar of the series. In the original cinematic trailer, you see Altair move through a crowd of people to stop an execution, and then escape once again through another crowd. Obviously, crowd blending in the original game isn't the most advanced, as you can't just blend in with any NPC, but there was still so much interaction with the citizens of the city you're traversing. In the original game, they put quite a lot of emphasis on the importance of being able to maneuver through crowds of people. You have a gentle push button so you don't bump into an NPC, along with that shoulder charge that pushes people out of the way to ensure you don't lose your balance and fall over, which can be detrimental in a chase. You have civilians carrying pots above their heads, and if you run into them, they'll drop them and you risk being detected by nearby guards. You have these annoying psychopaths who constantly shove you, along with beggars coming up and asking you for money or food, and of course the scholars who you can blend in with. There's different types of NPCs to interact with within the world. The crowds of NPCs aren't simply furniture or backdrops. They do things and react differently, which makes them feel alive. Even something as simple as hearing people freak out whenever you start climbing up walls or jumping across rooftops. I think little touches like that are part of what makes the first game so special. And I do appreciate, however annoying it could be at times, that there's layers to interacting with the NPCs, and there actually being a bit of skill involved when maneuvering through these crowds. After AC1, it would continue to get more and more streamlined, where eventually you're just running right through people without having to do anything. And while some people may prefer this, it's certainly less frustrating at times. It does kind of take away the depth and level of interaction you can have with random NPCs. This guy may have been annoying, but being able to grab him and throw him into a wall was ever so satisfying. Of course though, AC2 did introduce proper crowd blending with any NPCs, which was a game changer, bringing social stealth and the importance of being a blade in the crowd to an all-new meaning. These games always had ample amounts of NPCs, but we did slowly lose that level of interaction over time. However, in terms of density and volume, the game that brought this to the next level was Unity. Unity still far and away has the most NPCs and crowds of any AC game. Maybe even the most I've seen in a video game, period. In development, this was a big focus for them, and the technology they developed allowed them to create up to 1,000 unique individual AI characters within one crowd. Now, I already believe Paris is an incredibly well-designed open world, but the crowds take this thing to another level, and it was something that was very important for them to nail since this is the French Revolution. You had massive hordes of people rioting. I saw someone say in another video of mine that they thought the amount of NPCs in Unity was unrealistic, but I'd say I disagree. Maybe for another setting that would be true, but in the French Revolution especially, there was probably even more people on the streets of Paris in real life than what's portrayed in this game. It was madness, and I think Unity did a very good job of capturing what that might have been like with its crowds. And another small but important detail with that is the noise. Hearing the different people speaking and screaming, hearing the roar of a crowd, it's something that could be overlooked, but very important to making that crowd feel animated. Now, I am still upset that Unity never delivered on what they showed in the trailers, where it looks like you were actually able to inspire the crowds to attack by taking out guards in front of them. But still, what they were able to accomplish nearly 9 years ago, and that no other AC game has been able to top it since, is very impressive. Now, in the newer games, crowds aren't quite as important, as social stealth isn't really present, except for very situational moments in Valhalla. In fact, there's very few occasions I feel when you actually see a big crowd clumped together in one of the RPG games. But you know, fair enough, it's not really aiming to capture the assassin fantasy as much, so in those cases the NPCs are there to just kind of decorate the world and help with immersion. They're less involved in terms of gameplay, and you can't really interact with them unless you want to talk about the fact that they constantly attack you in Odyssey. I would also imagine it's harder to fill out a world with NPCs when the game's worlds are as massive as they are in the most recent games. So it's unlikely we'd ever see Unity level crowds in one of the RPG games, but who knows, maybe as the technology further develops that could be possible. But this was such an important thing to keep in mind for Assassin's Creed Mirage for me. When those leaks first started coming out saying that Mirage was going to be as dense with NPCs as Paris from Unity, my interest was piqued. Since we've heard it won't be quite as dense, which makes sense, I don't think Baghdad would be as crowded as French Revolution Paris, but from what little we've seen so far, there does appear to be quite a lot of NPCs, and it looks like there should be ample opportunity for crowd blending, even when just in the open world. I'm especially looking forward to this in the more crowded marketplace areas. I imagine we'll get an early look at what that's like, starting out with Basim as a street thief. Although I am curious, is the ability to crowd blend a skill Basim will already know, or is it something he'll learn from the hidden ones? I'd like to think the former, since that seems like an important part of being a street thief, blending in with crowds and such, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, I think crowds are an instrumental part of making the player feel as if they're an assassin, whether it's in terms of social stealth, interaction, or just general immersion. It's been an integral part of Assassin's Creed since the beginning, and I'm hoping it's something Mirage can deliver on later this year. I feel it's something so many modern AAA open world games can overlook because it may not seem super important in the grand scheme of things, but in my opinion, having these large crowds and tons of NPCs truly is important, because without the NPCs and crowds, these worlds are just hollow, lifeless shells. But as always, let me know what you think about the importance of crowds in Assassin's Creed, and which game in the series do you think did the best job of it? Is it AC1 for its level of engagement, features, and interactivity? Is it Unity for its sheer volume and scale of crowds? The Ezio trilogy, the naval games? Let me know what you think, and if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and considered subscribing to the channel if you're new. Big thank you to my members for supporting me as always, and other than that, thanks for watching, and stay stealthy out there, assassins.